The sun, a warm honey glow, filled the kitchen, casting gentle patterns across the tiled floor and illuminating every corner with a sense of quiet promise. The air was still, save for the soft hum of the refrigerator and the distant sound of a clock ticking in the hallway. Anya hummed softly, slicing fruit for her husband's lunch, her movements practiced and careful. Each slice was a small ritual, a way to show care even when words were few and time was short. She packed it neatly, a small act of love in her daily routine. The lunchbox, filled with bright fruit and carefully arranged sandwiches, was her way of sending a piece of home with Taro each day. Outside, birds chirped in the cherry blossom tree, its branches heavy with pink blooms. The petals fluttered in the breeze, drifting down like confetti, painting the garden in soft shades of spring. Spring had arrived, yet Anya felt a chill in her heart. The beauty outside seemed to highlight the emptiness within, a contrast she could not ignore. Her husband, Taro, worked long hours at the city bank. Each morning he left before the world was fully awake, his footsteps echoing in the quiet hallway as he slipped out the door. He left before the sun rose, often returning home late, his face etched with exhaustion. The days seemed to drain him, leaving little energy for conversation or laughter. Anya cherished their evenings together, but they were becoming increasingly rare. Most nights she sat alone at the dinner table, the silence growing heavier with each passing day. She missed his laughter, the warmth of his hand in hers. The empty chair across from her was a constant reminder of the distance that had crept between them. Days stretched into weeks, filled with a quiet loneliness. The house, once lively with shared moments, now echoed with the sound of her own footsteps. Anya busied herself with housework, tending to their small garden, the vibrant colors a stark contrast to her muted emotions. She hoped the flowers would bring some cheer, but their beauty only deepened her longing. Sometimes she wrote letters she never sent, pouring her thoughts onto paper in the hope that it would ease the ache inside her. She longed for someone to share her thoughts with, someone to chase away the growing shadows in her heart. Each day, she waited for a sign that things might change, holding on to hope as the seasons turned. One quiet afternoon, as sunlight filtered softly through the paper screens, a gentle knock echoed at the door, breaking the stillness of the house. The sound was polite, almost hesitant, as if the visitor was mindful not to disturb the peace within. Standing on the threshold was Kenji, their new driver. He was a middle-aged man whose kind face was framed by deep laugh lines, the sort that only come from years of genuine smiles and heartfelt laughter. His eyes sparkled with warmth and a quiet understanding. In his hands he held Taro's forgotten briefcase, which he offered with a sheepish, apologetic smile. There was a gentle humility in his gesture, as if he understood the small embarrassments of daily life and met them with kindness. Anya, grateful for the thoughtful return, invited Kenji inside for tea. As he stepped into the home, a wave of warmth seemed to fill the once silent rooms, chasing away the lingering sense of solitude that had settled there. Over steaming cups of tea at the low table, Kenji revealed himself to be a wonderful listener. He had a quiet wisdom about him, and his words, though few, were laced with gentle humor that put Anya at ease. His laughter was soft, never intrusive, and always sincere. As they talked, Kenji shared stories of his family, his wife's love of cooking, his children's dreams and mischief, and his own hopes for their future. He spoke with pride and tenderness, his eyes lighting up as he described their small triumphs and everyday joys. Listening to him, Anya felt her own guard begin to lower. She found herself opening up, sharing her anxieties about the future and the quiet hope she held for her own family. The conversation flowed easily, as if they were old friends rather than new acquaintances. Kenji's presence was a comforting balm to her loneliness, his gentle manner and attentive ear soothing the ache of isolation she hadn't realized had grown so deep. In his company, the house felt less empty, and her heart a little lighter. As the weeks turned into months, Kenji became a familiar and welcome face at their door. His visits, once occasional, became a cherished part of Anya's routine, each one bringing a sense of connection and belonging. He would often arrive a little early to pick up Taro, using those extra moments to engage Anya in lighthearted banter. Their conversations ranged from playful jokes to thoughtful reflections, always leaving her smiling long after he'd gone. One day, they discovered a shared love for gardening. This sparked a new tradition, exchanging tips, stories, and even seeds. They laughed over tales of stubborn weeds and celebrated the small victories of new blooms, finding joy in their common passion. Anya soon found herself looking forward to Kenji's visits, waiting by the window with anticipation. Their conversations became a bright spot in her days, a spark of joy that reminded her she was not alone, and that friendship could blossom in the most unexpected moments. Anya noticed a shift within herself. It was subtle at first, a fleeting thought, a lingering glance, a moment of hesitation that she couldn't quite explain. The world outside seemed to echo her inner turmoil, the rain tracing uncertain paths down the glass as she searched for clarity within. What began as innocent conversations with Kenji now held a different weight. Their words, once light and easy, now seemed to carry an undercurrent of meaning that neither dared to name. Each shared story, each laugh, felt like a secret exchanged in the hush of the room. She found herself dressing with more care, choosing colors and fabrics with Kenji in mind, wondering if he would notice. A flutter in her chest would rise unbidden when she heard his car pull up, a mix of anticipation and guilt that left her breathless. She caught herself smiling at her own reflection, then quickly looked away, unsettled by what she saw. The guilt gnawed at her conscience, a dark cloud against the sunshine of their friendship. She wondered if Kenji sensed it too, or if the change was hers alone to bear. The kitchen, once a place of comfort, now felt like a stage where she performed normalcy, even as her heart wavered. One rainy afternoon, as Kenji waited for Taro, he noticed Anya's worried frown. The storm outside seemed to mirror the tension in the room, the air thick with unspoken words and questions neither dared to voice. He gently inquired about her well-being, his concern evident in his eyes. There was a softness in his voice that made it impossible for her to hide behind polite smiles or half-truths. Anya, overwhelmed by his kindness, found herself confiding in him about her loneliness, her voice thick with unshed tears. She spoke of quiet evenings that stretched too long, of feeling invisible even in a crowded room, of longing for connection and understanding. Kenji listened patiently, his gaze unwavering. He offered no judgment, only the comfort of his presence, letting her words fill the silence between them. When she finished, he spoke, his voice soft yet firm. He reminded her that it was human to feel lost sometimes, that reaching out for support was not a weakness but a sign of strength. He reminded her of her strength, the love that bound her family together. He spoke of the small moments that built a life, the laughter and tears that wove their days into something meaningful. His words were like a gentle hand pulling her back from the precipice, reminding her of the path she was veering from. In that moment, Anya felt the weight of her doubts begin to lift, replaced by a fragile hope that she could find her way back to herself.